be here tonight again, live with you all. How are you, Alexis?
Ugh, I'm so tired. Let me tell you, I have been I have a lot going on, so I've been spending like every night working until 3 a.m. on art and whatnot just to get stuff done for some upcoming events, and I can feel it. Like I am so tired. Yeah, I'm just exhausted. How are you?
I'm kind of in the same boat. I had an early day today, and of course, it was really busy. And I just got my moon today, which actually I'm so relieved because this luteal phase was some trash. It was so intense and anxious and stressful. It just, I really had a rough time last week and a little bit of the week before. And so I feel the release, like I've been waiting for it. And so, um, yeah, today's day one. So those of you who menstruate know what I'm getting at here. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here. And I hope that, as usual, whenever we have these chats, like Alexis and I will really start off really tired, and then when we finish, we have all this crazy energy. We're like, whoa, that was, so exciting. Even if like we get off and we crash, like we do get like a little boost, and then it's like, okay.
Oh,
So
for
I'm
sure.
hoping that, that happens tonight, but I'm also okay with just getting my butt ready for bed. So
Right.
here we are. Before we get into today's topic, which is we're going to be talking about the dream symbols, spiders, rats, and snakes, which I'm really excited to talk about. And it was really fun to dig into that and learn some new things about these creatures. But first, before we get into that, I just want to share a couple announcements. So September 7th, I am going to be teaching another dream class. This dream class is called Dreaming with the Moon. Essentially, this is going to help you learn how to access the dream guidance through the moon by learning how the moon influences your dreams and how to awaken your intuition through the connection to the moon and your dream space. This class will empower you to better understand your subconscious and build a meaningful lunar dream practice. And so, in this class, you'll discover how to awaken and deepen the intuitive connection between lunar phases in your dream life. You'll learn how the moon sign and phase influence the quality, content, and symbolism of dreams. You'll also learn how to track, interpret, and work with lunar influenced dreams for personal insight and spiritual growth. And finally, you will learn how to cultivate a simple dream practice aligned with the lunar wisdom. And so, again, this class is September 7th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to register, the link is going to be in the description of this video. But as per usual, I am teaching this class through Ritual Craft School. So it's a virtual class and it's an awesome community. And so I would love to connect with you there.
Yeah, we've talked about the astrological like occurrences and how they combine with like our dream space, especially the moon. And you always just offer such a wellspring of insight and knowledge. So anyone who signs up for the class is going to just understand themselves and their dream space and their moon sign in a whole new way. So I highly suggest doing that class because it's just I love talking to you about that stuff. It's always so fun.
Awesome.
So, another announcement, which if you've been here for a while, we talk about this pretty much every week. If you're new, here you go. So Urania and I are working with a developing app called Dreamigos. This is a wonderful dream recording app. So there's a multitude of ways you can record your dreams. You can keep them private to yourself, or you can submit them to the public Dreamline, where you can have dream experts like Urania and I come on and give some insight and guidance, but also be a part of the community. You can find this app on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. You can get it, I believe, on your mobile devices and your computers, like MacBook. So I would highly suggest downloading that today. Another offer that you get when you download the app and sign up is you get to be a part of our monthly Dream Circle. Now, we just did our Dream Circle last night, and one of our dream experts led it. It was phenomenal. I mean, You get so much out of these dream circles. You have an opportunity to learn, to share, to grow, and just be a part of the community. So if you haven't downloaded that already, go ahead and download it, register, and join us.
Yeah, it's so exciting and it's growing so quickly. So I'm really happy to see and be a part of its evolution because I just know that it's going to be something that is very special and a lot of fun and a lot of informative in reference to dreams. So definitely check it out and join us for our free dream circle. All right, so let's get into tonight's topic. And again, we're going to be talking about the dream symbols, snakes, rats, and spiders, and what they represent in your dreams. And so, just to give a brief definition or meaning of dream symbols, what that does mean, essentially, a dream symbol is the key to unlock the psychological forces. They have transformative potential to heal our suffering and to restore our relationship to the center of our being. These images connect our waking minds to the unconscious reservoirs of creativity and emerging potential. So essentially, the symbols can be a bridge between the material and the spiritual world, especially in the case of animals, which we'll be talking about, or, animals, creatures, and so forth, like the natural world. They really tend to be very archetypal or spiritual in their representation. They also, this dream symbols in itself tend to have a magnetic quality to it. These symbols are natural attempts to reconcile and reunite the opposites within our psyche. And then finally, those archetypal images or the spiritual representation connects you to deeper sources and meanings, and if you dwell on them for some time, you will then take in that meaning and embody it and have a deeper connection with that symbol. So when you really start to do dream work, or just even paying attention to your dreams and writing them, you will begin to see that some symbols tend to follow you, and you tend to have your own personal symbols, and that will help you to build a deeper connection with your inner being or your dreaming self. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you covered the basis of dream symbols really well.
Yeah, and so I think I pretty much spoke about why they're important within that too.
Yeah.
Um, cool. So yeah, so definitely take note of your dream symbols. That's a powerful like tool or point when it comes to interpretation. Is, of course, we talk about the emotion all the time, and then those dream symbols will definitely give you a lot of information of what the dream message or guidance is. All right, so I see Mary's here. Oh my gosh, thank you, Mary, for
Hey,
being here. Thank
Mary.
you for always showing up with us live. So Mary and anyone else who watches the replay or watches this live, feel free to share with us your thoughts, your perspective, your connection to the symbols that we talk about tonight. Have you had them in your dreams before? And what are your emotions and feelings around that in the dreams, if you can remember? So we're going to start with spiders. But firstly, let me just say that our reasoning for picking these three spiders, rats, and snakes um, is that we wanted to talk about or group the symbols that kind of give us, like, humans, kind of the ick that makes us kind of freak out when we see them. And not all of us freak out with snakes, not all of us freak out with spiders or rats, but as a whole, as humans, there's like a thing, especially when you think about spiders, especially snakes too. There's like a thing with these creatures, like we love them when it comes to spiritual representation, but when it comes to like having a close encounter, that's a whole different dynamic. And so there was one dream share that I was interpreting yesterday, the day before, but nonetheless, it was regarding snakes, and I was like, oh, that's what we should do. We should do snakes. And then what else goes with that, right? That kind of gives you that vibe. So that's kind of why we chose these symbols today.
And also, we're entering into the season, we're moving into the season of like creepy Halloweeny fall vibes, and why not kick it off a little early?
Right. I was thinking that, and it was funny because when I was mentioning it to you, I thought about that too. I was like, oh, should we wait like another month? And I was like, no, we could do this because we can all, there's so many like
There's
creepy
so
things to talk
much.
about. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited for witchy season. So definitely stay tuned and hang with us as we're gonna have some really exciting seasonal chats for you guys. So yeah, so spiders. And with the creatures, when I think about animals or insects or any like natural thing, natural creature, what I like to do when it comes to like deciphering the meaning of the symbols, I like to look at the natural behavior and the instinct of these animals and insects and whatnot. Because what I've learned in my studies for about dream symbols specifically to animals is that when animals show up in your dream, it's almost like they take on like initially the archetypal symbolism, like the spiritual connotation or associations with that figure, and they might be coming forth as some sort of guide or some sort of aspect of yourself, which all dream symbols tend to, but with the animals, they're very, very wise teachers in waking life. And so I tend to bring that into the dream space. So I like to look at their natural habits and instincts. So would you like me to start first or do you want to start?
It's entirely up to you. I'm sure we're gonna cover a lot of the same stuff.
Right. Okay, so since I was talking about the natural instinctive nature with spiders, and I was doing some research today. So this is I definitely learned some new things here. But when we think about spiders, there are two types of spiders, or the way in which they get their prey, so to speak. And so you have your orb weavers, and then you have your essentially your hunters, or like the ones that burrow. And so I know the hunters, they always, I don't mind the orb weavers because I'm like, okay, there's your web. I know you're generally going to stay and hang out there unless you like pack up and go somewhere else.
Yep.
But with the hunters, and I have them here, the yellow sac spiders, they tend to like move around. And I'm like, no, I don't need you moving around and walking on the ceiling above me, like when I'm in the shower or when I'm in bed.
Yeah, we have the
So
brown recluse over here, and like you just never know what you're gonna. Luckily, I've only encountered them once, but like they will, if they bite you, like that,
wait,
it can
which ones did you say?
the brown recluse.
Oh, do you have them in PA?
Yeah, we have the brown recluse, and we
Oh,
have
wow.
the black widows.
Oh, really? Oh,
Hmm.
wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we don't get brown recluse here.
I am
Um,
very thankful though that I do not live in Australia because those
they're
fucking
huge.
spiders eat birds. Like they
Yeah,
are huge, and I'm like, oh, like I
yeah.
watched that movie. There was a just a stupid movie that came out years ago called Eight-Legged Freaks, where like toxic stuff pulled into the water in their local area, and the spiders drank it, and they turned huge. And like ever since then, like
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't want to be around big spiders. I can handle wolf spiders because they're kind of like fuzzy and they're cute and they're not
No,
they're not gonna bother you,
no.
but like the hunter ones where they're like I'm on a mission and my mission is to get you. No.
Yeah.
No thank you. No thank
Yeah, I
you.
can't I can't do wolf spiders. We had a lot of those in one of the homes I lived in Colorado, and it was like it was intense. So yeah, we have the two. We have the web, the orb weavers and the hunters. And so what are your feelings of the orb weavers?
Oh, I love them. They're fine. They
Yeah.
can hang out. Like I just let them chill. Wherever they end up being, I just let them chill because at the end of the day, like they're kind of helping us out. You know,
Yeah.
any bugs that come in, like mine are more so towards like the foyer, like by the doors. So
Mhm.
any bugs that come in, they pretty much catch. Except they were at the bottom of the stairs, like on the corner of the stairs, and I had to yell at them like a while ago, or not yell at them, but like give them a stern talking to because like all the bugs fly up, they don't fly down.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, why are you on the floor? You're
I
not
mean,
getting any
maybe they
bugs on the
might, I don't
floor.
know. They might be getting some, who knows?
I don't
Because
know,
I have some of those too. So
because
this
they
is really
died and
important.
like they weren't
This is
getting
really important.
food. They died. Like I just had a batch of dumb spiders that just like would just die because they weren't getting any food.
Yeah.
They've drifted. Like I have one that's like on the floor right next to the door, so like it's more accessible for them to get bugs. But they've moved like on the ceiling corners a little more. I'm like, good,
Yeah.
follow my advice. You'll get more food, and I'm just trying to help.
So this is a good point. Oh, my little one is screaming, and I guarantee you she just saw a spider in the bathroom because she freaks out. So, anyways, distractions aside and very on topic right now. But yeah, so this is a good point. You really want to pay attention with any animals, with any creatures that show up in your dreams. You want to pay attention to your personal connection with them, because that's the true, quote unquote, true meaning for you personally, like your interaction and what the message might be. And of course, you want to pay attention, as always, to your emotion in the dream. And so you already got a taste of, Alexis and I, our connection to these spiders. And I, like I said, I don't mind the orb weavers. I feel they're like really beautiful. And one thing that I learned today is that some of them actually spin their webs daily. So every day they're creating a new web. So they actually will like eat their web, so they consume it along with their prey when they catch them, and they'll chill out during the day, and then they will orb another web at night, which is when they catch, their prey. So obviously they're nocturnal. So keep this in mind as well. So it's like they're very resourceful, like being able to like eat your web, to like pack that up essentially, and to be able to create, like that's like really powerful, or mastery of creation, because that seems like it would be a lot of work, especially,
Right.
I mean, not all of them are the best at, weaving their webs as far as like how beautiful it is, but I've seen some really beautiful
Oh yeah.
webs. So
And they're not like birds where they go and get their materials. Their materials are their own bodily fluid. Like it's,
yeah,
or whatever you would call it. I guess not fluid, but like I don't know. I don't know. It's like a homemade string.
right.
But
Silk.
the
It's
like
silk.
yeah, it's silk. So the energy that they have to output, even just creating the material to make the web from, it's they're such interesting creatures. And I do have to say, like, if I because my favorite ones are jumping spiders. And if
Mm,
you talk to a jumping spider, like they'll be like doing their thing, like kind of like do around. If you stop and like you start talking to it, it looks up at you and it kind of is like curious
it's
of
so
you. And they are so cute. And like if they didn't have such short lives, I'd probably like have a few of them. But
right.
I don't know if I could do that. Like fall in love with something that's gonna die in like a year.
Well, this is a like really messed up short story, real life short story. So I was living in the same house where I was like, we would have all the wolf spiders. This was like the witchiest house I've ever lived in. I lived there with Jacqueline and Jen, and there was no, it was just the three of us for most of that time. And we were getting a lot of spiders. And at the time, I had this small greenhouse. I mean, it was like from IKEA. So it was probably like this big, and I had like little plants in it. And I was like, oh, why don't we? Because my boyfriend at the time, I was like, why don't we? I had made him catch it, and then I was like, oh, we should like put it in the greenhouse and like let it live there. And we like brought it some, some dirt to burrow in. We like were feeding it like moths, like dead. Well, we were actually
Oh,
feeding it dead bugs, which is kind of messed up. But we were like attempting, but it ended up dying quickly because we're idiots. We didn't give it water. Like, what? Like, I don't know why we didn't think that. We're like, oh my God, look at this. This is so cool. We have this like pet spider. It was torture. I feel like the fact that I'm sharing it, I'm just like, okay.
well, and people don't know that, but like when you own spiders, like you want to like lightly spritz the inside of their enclosure so that they can
Yeah.
have water. You can't like put a bowl of water in there. They're not
Right.
gonna, like,
Yeah.
but like you just do little spritzes and they kind
Yeah.
of like it's almost they drink the little like what bubble uh beads, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, not a good
Oh
idea.
well.
That's kind of mean. So,
We
but
didn't know.
nonetheless, I try to, try to like rebuild my relationship with spiders. But moving forward, okay, so they're solitary creatures. As we
Mhm.
know, they're predators, they're venomous. And what I really love about them is that they are like highly attuned to like frequency or vibration. And so, which makes sense because they're so like at times they could be so small, and it helps them to be an awareness of their surroundings, their environment. Also, when it comes to like catching or like attracting their prey and being very like still and so yeah. And so just with these qualities alone, just with the instinctual behaviors, you can sort of start to gather what this might mean for you. And so, are these characteristics that you might want to embody, like, or are you imbalanced with some of these, like, say that protective or like, yeah, protective or what should I say? Maybe even like the solitary aspect of things, like maybe just depending on the context of the dream, you might want to open up a little bit.
Absolutely.
What would you like to add?
So I spiders are so interesting when it comes to the way we interpret them, whether like all over the world. And, there's a lot of people who might see them as more fearful, so they could represent like overwhelm, anxiety, entrapment, fear.
Mhm.
But then on the other hand, you have, a lot of tribes that see them as helpful, healing symbols within the dream space. And some people even see them as their creator when they enter the dream, which I think is so interesting. They can represent creativity, which makes a whole lot of sense considering that their webs are so unique and they spend so much time on them. But also patience. I mean, you have to be patient to sit there and wait for your food to kind of like entrap themselves. But one of the aspects of the spider that I find the most interesting is that it has a strong feminine power, and it could represent, the mother, in multiple ways, like overbearing, um, destructive, like eat, like a cannibalism, almost like not physical cannibalism, but almost like just the way that a mother could essentially eat like the spirit of a person, like of their child. Like you know if you say, if you express something of yourself and your mother is very like strongly like critical, it's like eating the spirit. And so there's that aspect of it, and that makes me think of the movie Coraline, where like in this essentially dream world, dream space, alternate reality, this other mother, is, entrapping this young girl with all of the things that she's lacking in her waking life. And it's a trap to basically consume her. That immediately jumped out to me. um, but another aspect I wanted to include was, they have 8 legs. So I pulled in the numerology for 8. So power, authority, abundance, discipline, leadership, and how that might show up for you. Another
Mastery.
as Yeah, mastery, exactly. And of course, again, that creativity.
Mhm.
So then the other aspect in when it comes to spiders is their webs, as you mentioned. So they represent the archetypal symbol of weaving. So like weaving your life energy together, growth, life process, the spinning of your own fate. The mandala shape can represent the self. But it could also represent, being trapped in a relationship, in a workspace, financially trapped, wherever you may feel like you might be trapped, and secrecy, deceit, so yeah, that's what I gathered on them.
Oh, that's perfect. And one of the things I know, even just seeing spiders a lot, like in waking life, actually a couple months ago, I had a reading with a client, and um I'm pretty sure she had a dream about spiders, and then she was seeing a lot of spiders in a short amount of time. A lot of spiders around her house, where it was a thing. And then what was crazy, it was like the night before her reading and like that morning before, I think I had saw like 3 or 4 spiders, had encounters with spiders, and to the point where I thought about it in our reading, our session together, and I literally asked her, I was like, so what's like, do you have a connection with spiders? And she was blown away. She was like, what? And this is a person who's gotten readings with me a couple times, and we talk kind of ongoing. And so we already have a connection. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I said something, because like it was just very loud. And what was going on, there was a lot of fear coming up for her, and a lot of like needing to confront shadow. And that's been something that I've experienced when I've encountered a lot of spiders, like where it's like, it's a message. And that is also, one of their associations in dreams, where it can kind of represent facing some sort of shadows, like what you said, entrapment and fears. And then there's that dark feminine aspect of spiders too, which I think about the black widows and the other spiders, where they will literally eat their mate, which I love that. So they make their
I
babies and then
love
they eat
that.
them.
It's so
So
amazing.
we're gonna share. We each have a dream to share on spiders, and we'll see, what we gather from that. Do you have yours ready? So kind of,
Oh yeah. So
okay.
mine was short, and it's actually kind of funny because this dream I had in October of 2023, and it had both symbols. It had the symbol of spiders in it, but it also had the symbol of snakes. It's a
Ooh.
very short dream, and we don't have to go into the snake aspect, but it was the shorter version of one of my dreams with spiders in it. The other one is very long, and I don't think it's, I've told it before, so.
Yeah.
But
Shut up.
real quick before I start this, when I was a kid, I used to have like almost like a in between hypnagogic state where I would have like almost like hallucinations of spiders crawling in my bed, like hundreds, if not thousands of spiders crawling in my bed, and I would have to tuck myself, my entire body from head to toe, tuck myself in and have my like uh blanket over my face, kind of like a hood, where like only a little bit of my face was showing because I was so afraid that I was going to have like an invasion of spiders come through. And I kind of had a similar thing with snakes too, where like I just was so afraid that I was going to be hunted down and I guess eaten alive by these things. But as I've got, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as I've gotten older, the relationship with spiders and snakes has become much more manageable and not based on fear, which is nice, or at least not based on extreme fear like that.
That transformation,
Yes,
transformational aspect,
exactly.
which that's associated with them too. No, I was just gonna say, you reminded me of Discovery of Witches, where she was having recurring like nightmares, but I think hers was kind of in the hypnagogic state too, where she was like, there are spiders crawling on her, and then later she learned that her parents had bound her, or like she was spellbound, basic, which, sorry, spoiler alert.
That's
But yeah,
okay.
so that makes
It's
sense.
been
That all
on
tracks.
Netflix for
That
a while.
entrapment, and like, yeah, being
Yeah, and
bound,
it
and
makes a lot of
yeah.
sense because, I was very fearful as a kid. I had a lot of anxiety. So then
Mhm.
you throw something that to me like could be harmful into my already high anxiety state of mind, and it just like went crazy.
Mm.
But the dream that I had, it was October 23rd of 2023, and I had dreamt that my sister was dating an old friend of mine, and I was very against it. I was hanging out with them, and there was a spider that I was trying to avoid, but it kept following me. Then my sister wakes me up, and I'm like sleeping on my parents' couch. So that dream was a dream within a dream.
Okay.
So I wake up on the couch in my parents' house. I tell her about dating the person, and she says, "Ew, I'd never," and laughs. Then she invites me to go to a fair. I end up going with her and another friend to this fair, but the fair ended up being a giant snake fair in the south where they sold fried snake meat and had large display cages of huge snakes everywhere. And we
Mm.
walked around all like it was they were set up like almost like in a square as if the cages of the snakes were set up to be a like the walls of a room. And like we were walking, and I remember walking over wires for the lights that kept them warm and just peering into all of these like little cages. So I just thought that was really interesting to have like this dream within a dream where this snake was, or I mean, this spider was essentially hunting me and
Mm.
like not leaving me alone, and then waking up to go to affair that was kind of another creepy crawly
Yeah.
creature.
Yeah, we'll have to come back to this again with the snakes, but
Right.
I'm what I'm picking up mostly is like, okay, with the spiders and the snakes, there's definitely like shadow possibly. Um, but then also I feel like that protective energy with in reference to the spider and just your sister, the dark feminine energy coming through as well. Um, so yeah, yeah, that's where I'll say more when we talk about snakes and then we
Right.
go
And you
from
know
there.
what? I thinking about this dream, I feel like the spider I was trying to avoid was my shadow self. Like
Yeah,
aspects of myself that I was neglecting, rejecting, avoiding, pushing away, things that made me afraid, that was like beckoning me in the shadows, like you have to come and face this. You have to deal with these things. Otherwise, it's going to get you. Your
yeah,
own mental
and
health
that's
is going to get you.
yeah, and that's the thing too. Like chase dreams in itself, like it definitely 9 times out of 10 is pointing to something you're avoiding, and then with the spider being the thing chasing you. So this is when I would look at, those characteristics, especially the instinctual behavior, to see if there's something that you are like avoiding. Like what's the shadow, what's the fear in reference to any of these specific qualities, in
Absolutely.
context with of the rest of the dream. So yeah.
Right. And it was interesting. I didn't even realize this was a dream within a dream until I read it out loud. Because, like, when you're looking at a written dream, sometimes it can be hard for you to, like, take in entirely.
Yeah.
And if I'm being totally honest, I went on, like, my blog and I was like, spiders, and it came up with came up for me. But, that aspect I find interesting too, that the spider aspect was the dream within a dream. And it makes me think, like, why was it so deep in there?
Yeah. Hmm.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, it's like the layers coming out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it's not that long of a dream. There's not really that much there, but
Well, that was
with what
important. Yeah.
with what has been given, and like going back and looking in my journal after this, I probably will, and see like how I was feeling and what was going on around that time period. I'm sure will give me the answers I need.
Oh, yeah. All right. So mine is from June 23rd of 2024. So last year. Okay, so this is a short one too. There's a lot of other symbols in here, creatures. But Sidori, my daughter, and I were in the bedroom. I was moving plants on the table next to the bed, and one of the flowering vines snapped off. I was a little annoyed, but I knew if I just placed it in water, it would be fine and grow roots. As I went to pick up the vines, what I initially thought was a decent sized spider jumped from the glass pot and onto the bed next to the table. I then realized it was a grasshopper with wings. I was freaked out by it and was letting it do its thing. Then two birds came in, little finches or chickadees, black and white. One grabbed the grasshopper and the other had grabbed a dead bird that was another one of them. There was a lot going on. I went to go tell Malachi about it in the other room, and Sidori walked to me holding the grasshopper who appeared to be dead. I jumped back and told her I didn't want it. She dropped it, and one of those birds came and picked it up again. So,
So that's interesting because in the dream you thought it was a spider, but it actually
right.
wasn't. So it's interesting. It's almost like, um, okay, so what would invoke, that
The initial.
initial idea of like, the spider aspect, and then mistaking it for, essentially a did you say grasshopper or praying mantis?
Grasshopper.
So then going back and like, all right, well, what does a grasshopper represent, and what would the transition from spider to grasshopper kind of feel like within the unconscious? um
Right.
so what are your thoughts on that?
Maybe taking like when I think about grasshoppers taking a leap forward. I'm like, do grasshoppers have do they have wings? No, I mean they
I
don't
think they
fly,
do.
but they
I
kind
think
of do because I've been seeing them a lot lately.
they like
Um,
jump and flutter and then land and then jump and
yeah,
flutter
like they
and
don't
land.
fly, but they jump really far and it looks like they have wings. So
Right.
that's interesting. In this dream, actually, the fact that this came up now, I've been seeing a lot of grasshoppers recently, like where it's like, again, with spiders, with anything, like, when you're seeing them a lot, I was like, okay, what is this about? So this dream just affirmed that. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. It's like yeah, I think, and even when I think about grasshoppers, they seem like there's that big leap and
Mhm.
almost like this aspect of freedom.
Well,
But
and
there's
that's
many
exactly what I
layers.
was gonna say. It's almost like the spider represented entrapment and the
Yeah.
grasshopper represented freedom. So it was like you mistook something that maybe you were experiencing as one thing, but it was really something else.
Yeah. Interesting. Very cool. I have to like go definitely with the grasshopper. I'm like, oh, what's this about? So yeah, cool. Alrighty. So I think we did a good job with that one. Mary says, grasshoppers I've mistaken for butterflies. Mom's grass is full of them. And this is them and I, this of our conscious mind. Oh, okay. I got confused with that. Hold on. Grasshoppers I'm mistaken for butterflies, and her mom's grass is full of them. Um, cool. So with that said, let's move on to rats. So I'll start again with the natural behavioral instincts of rats, just some of the key qualities of them. So they are, first of all, just saying, like, as far as our relationship with rats, let's talk about that first. So my relationship with rats, I've never had a pet rat. I've never really had a desire to have a pet rat. My connection and relationship to rats is basically being in cities and, being in DC, working in restaurants in DC. You see them, it's like a thing. They're kind of more on along the lines of pests. You don't want to see them in your restaurant. But it's also a city, so it comes along with like literally the territory. So
Mhm.
um I'm sure if I saw one scurry like around me, I would probably freak out. I'll be honest. I'm just like, oh my God, what is that? Because I do that with mice too. And I think mice are cute. So,
Mhm.
but it's just I'm not prepared for that. So that's where I'm at with rats. But I do revere them for their intelligence. They're incredibly smart and very cool, especially when I started reading a bit more about them today. So what's your relationship like with rats?
So I've never had any issues with rats, and then I've met a bunch of people who had pet rats, and I ended up having 3 pet rats. They were incredible. They were so cute. They're vibrant and intelligent and affectionate. Like they're so lovey-dovey. And ever since then, like I just have like my heart is just like open for them. Even I was making the graphic for today and I was going through the Google images for like rats and they were all just so cute. Like I was looking for ones that might be a little more like scary, but I just
I
love them
was
all. I think
looking
they're
for that
so
too.
cute. I any video I see because they're so interesting because they have their own personalities. They have their own way of moving through life. And like when I see videos of rats in New York City and they're like doing their own thing, like I watched this one video a while back and it was like a rat was near like a water source, like in the city. Like it wasn't a natural water source. There were like pipes there. And it has water pouring on it. And he's just like kind of like cleaning under his armpits and like it wasn't AI. It was like it was just he was taking care of himself. I just
Love
have
that.
such a big heart for rats. Like they're so smart and they have such a bad rep. And like I know, but what rats also make me think of is the Black Plague. I know that was
Touch
combo
on
of
that
it
too.
was a flea that shared like it was a
Fleas
flea
from
that
rat
attached itself to
infected rat.
rats and
Yeah.
gerbils because gerbils were more like gerbils were like like in nature like
Hmm.
doing their thing. They weren't like pets like they are now.
Yeah.
And I know that it
Rodents.
was a flea that attached itself to them and then we it spread and whatever, but it makes me think of almost like illness like death like
Disease.
just
Yeah.
because of that time period. And I know that I just watched a show about the plague, so it's fresh in my mind, but it
Well, then
also
I
makes me
also
think of
I
that like
watched
infestation and death and illness.
yeah, I just watched that movie what is it? Nosferatu?
Right, right,
Nosferatu.
right.
Yeah, and that was like he brought when he came to like this new town, he brought like plague
Hmm.
infested rats with
That
him.
was such a good
So that's
movie.
like that was so good. Wow, yeah, they really did a good job on that. But yeah, so that made me think about that too. And it's interesting you brought that up because I felt like again, there's the rats being like the scapegoat of like, just dirt and trash. I mean, yes, they do get these really nasty diseases.
Yeah.
And if humans come into contact with them, of course, and handle them when they're diseased, they can get it from the rats. But
Right.
like
And
when
it's
it
like
came to the
anything
Black Plague,
else, you know?
yeah, when it came to the Black Plague, we think about rats, but it actually came from the fleas
Yep.
carrying that. So I think that's interesting.
It is
Mary says
interesting.
that rats remind her of ancestral wisdom. Yeah,
Yes.
they're incredibly, incredibly wise. So, again, they're getting back to their natural instinctive behavior. They're definitely survivalists and very resourceful. So they're extremely adaptable. They can pretty much thrive in pretty much any kind of circumstance or environments from city to country and so forth, and living amongst humans and being able to adapt to our ways of being. So that's something you might want to consider. They do burrow and nest, and some of their burrows they have basically, it said that they have hidden passageways and tunnels and such. So they're very, very intelligent at you know, creating those hidden passageways, right? And so that can also point to pathways, like they can represent in the dream pathways through your unconscious or just maybe revealing some hidden aspects within yourself. They're very socially intelligent, so they have complex hierarchies within their groups of them, as well as different colonies. So they're very, very social creatures, so completely different from spiders and snakes too. They're nocturnal, so they're active at night, most active at night, curious and also cautious. So it said that they'll tend to explore new places slowly.
Hmm.
They're also good at foraging and hoarding, so collecting and storing food in the way, of course, always paying attention to the way they show up in the dreams and what's going on in your waking life, because they can point to, maybe you're in a space of scarcity, and that's something you might want to pay attention to and to kind of integrate or embody that essence of the rats as far as being able to collect and store food, or whatever it is that you might be feeling some sort of scarcity in. Um, they are very well, or yeah, they're fertile. So they have a
Yep.
strong reproductive reproductive system. They're very fertile, right? Like kind of like rabbits, right? So prolific breeders, so that's something to keep in mind. So they hold the space of abundance and the kind of scarcity thing. They know how to balance that, right? Because like, yes, they have this aspect of them that is very abundant as far as like life, but when it comes to like the resources, they are able to prepare for those times where it might, like, we're in the cycle of not having a lot of food. And then they're incredibly resilient. They are like cockroaches, like it's really hard to get rid of them. Like when you have a bunch of rats, like forget about it. So, and it's like the thing they say with mice, once you see one, like know that there's a lot around,
Oh,
because
there's
they're
a lot.
very
There's a
social,
lot.
their groups, right? So yeah, I think that that's pretty much touched on their natural instinctive behavior. So what kind of
Absolutely.
qualities do you have there as far as their symbolism?
Oh, I feel like even just talking about what qualities they have, you went over the symbolism. So, on the negative aspect, we have, the filth, poverty, illness, evil, infestation, being misunderstood. They can represent anxiety, self loathing, shame, or guilt. But on the positive side, they represent fertility, luck, wealth, intelligence, science, resourcefulness, adaptability, survival, and again, that loving, affectionate, and playfulness too.
Mm-hmm.
So when you went over the qualities of the rats, it really did emphasize the symbolism in the dream space too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. My dream dictionary that I had when I was looking at it, they really focused on like the negative. I was kind of shocked. I was like, really? I mean, they mentioned, if you have a pet rat and say, or if in the dream, like it is a pet rat, that's definitely another, perspective to look at. And that's more than likely going to be more positive leaning. But again, it always comes down to your personal perspective, your personal relationship. And I have a lot of respect for rats. And so, yeah, but like you said, they can definitely symbolize fears and anxieties. And in the dictionary that I had, it says it could also point to a diseased or devious part of a dreamer or their situation. So
Right,
that's something to, like, in context of the dream, paying attention to the situation that's happening in the dream. How is it reflected in your waking life? Is there something that they also mentioned that it could represent, like, time gnawing at life, right? So
right.
not gnawing type vibe
Or
happening.
even something
um
gnawing at you internally, like
yeah.
some kind of issue, whether you're avoiding a health issue, you're avoiding, confrontation over a relationship issue or a work issue or again financial issue, like that gnawing sensation of something being like right there, right breathing on your shoulder and having to be dealt with definitely can come through.
Hmm. Yeah, so I think we kind of touched on that. And you have a rat dream, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So I had this dream June 18th of 2024, and it was a nap. So it was like midday. I was in an odd house that felt kind of like a mixture of homes I've been in and the back rooms. The void I could feel lingering around the corner throughout. I was with my sisters, my parents, and my nephew. My nephew was playing outside with other kids. The outside was filled with gray, voided skies and tall, oblong houses that felt like shelves. I had walked down the stairs via a wood ramp that was rickety 2x4s and stopped in my tracks when I observed three goldfish swimming frantically in a clear flower vase. The flower vase, filled with water, was also submerged in a larger fishbowl filled with water. My focus honed in on the fish and watched as they went from frantically swimming to coordinating a plan together and focusing on escaping. I watched until all three leapt from the vase to the bowl and were comfortably swimming. At that point, I saw a few rats coming out from under the wood and three turtles walking up the ramp, meeting the rats to dive into whatever was dead in front of me to eat. So there was
Hold
some
up.
kind of
Can you I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you
no,
go back to um the part where they were coordinating a plan to escape, and then read from
yes.
there? Okay. So I missed a part.
Okay. I observed three goldfish swimming frantically in a clear flower vase. The flower vase was filled with water, but it was also submerged in a larger bowl. So think like here's a small flower vase,
Hmm.
and then the fish bowl that was big were
Mm-hmm.
two. It was submerged in that big one.
Mm-hmm.
I watched until all. Wait, well, hold on. Oh, my focus honed in on the fish and watched as they went from frantically swimming to coordinating a plan together and focusing on escaping. I watched until all three leapt from the small base to the big bowl where they were comfortably swimming. At that point, I saw a few rats coming out from under the wood and three turtles walking up the ramp. They met together to dive into whatever dead animal was in front of me to eat. I walked away and went back outside upstairs where everyone was. There were detached porches which seemed to float on their own. There was one that held my family and another that held a pool. The deck with the pool had two dream people I recognized as artists I know not know but I know of in real life. They were letting their small white dog have time to swim around, for the dog was close to death, and this was a pastime they'd all enjoyed together. My nephew wanted to swim, so I went up with him. I asked these artists if they were watching the pool, and they said of course. My nephew jumped in and swam for a bit. I saw my sisters and flipped them off as a group of dream people walked by. The one girl was displeased with my action and started yelling up at me, but I couldn't hear her. I flitted down, so I kind of just like floated down, um, and said to her how sorry I was, that it wasn't meant to be insulting. I was doing it to my sisters as a joke, not to them. And then I said, "Come here, baby girl," and gave her a hug. Her mood immediately changed, and everything was fine again. While this was all going on, I was bouncing back and forth into another dream where I was sneaking a boy through a terroristic area in a desert with another person. The boy was situated on on a man's shoulders with a broomstick taped to his back and hood over top, so if anyone tried to decapitate him from behind, it would hit off the broom attached. The desert was warm with a nice chill wind. We could see in the distance an area that we'd have to pass through, and we started making our way to it because it was a safe, sacred place. And that was when I woke up.
Hmm. Wow. There's a lot going on in that dream, especially when you inserted the other one. I was like, wait, what? That was
Yeah,
so random. But I
it was
think
so random.
what really stood out to me, um, even though like the rats weren't, they were there for like a moment, I felt like their essence in reference to there was a lot going on as far as like the social interactions, right?
Of
Like you
course.
have everyone, you like your family, all your family that was there initially, then you have the what was it, three fish.
Mm-hmm.
So the three fish and how they were like first frantic, but then they came together, and that strategic intelligence, like I felt the rat's essence with that. And then of course, like the people walking by, you being with your sisters again, and then just the additional, like the artists, and then the additional people. So there was definitely a lot of social things happening. Also, this is not the symbol, but what really stood out to me too is water and that swimming. And so, but then it's like water and desert, so there's this duality aspect that also also corresponds to rats as well, just with that scarcity, but yeah, abundance. And like with water, it's moisture, but then dryness, right, which can also kind of equate to the dryness being scarcity or lack, and then the moisture being like abundance or just, yeah. And so I don't necessarily have like a, oh, this is what I'm getting as far as a meaning, but I just can see why the rats were there, how they were connected to the dream, just in that sense. So they were about to eat what, like that, the dead animal that was there.
Yeah, so there was some dead animal that was in front of this ramp that I was walking down. But I was standing and I was kind of just watching as these
Mm,
groups were like figuring out their own stuff. So after the fish had escaped into the larger bowl more comfortably, these rats met up with these turtles and they kind of came to an agreement of sharing the food that was
mm.
available.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So that
also
was the theme.
acting as like disposal. So
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
like disposing of this dead thing. And it almost to me felt like aspects of my like inner self working together to, process and move through maybe a dead trauma that was kind of just lingering on my
Yeah.
shoulders
There's
that
like,
really
even when
didn't.
I'm, oh, sorry, even when they just thinking about them eating this dead animal, I got that gnawing
Yeah.
um as well too. Like I can just like, see them like,
Yeah, and I almost feel like
out
turtles
there.
even have that like because of the way their mouths are
Mhm.
shaped, it almost has like a
Yeah.
gnawing
Yeah.
thing to it too.
Very interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, it was definitely that was definitely an interesting dream. And I feel like the fish, the rats, and the turtles kind of play a role in, you know, my inner my inner self, my unconscious, my subconscious.
Yeah.
What like taking care of things. Like these fish escaped something that felt entrapped, and these turtles and these rats were cleaning up,
Mm.
dead debris, just kind of like it's a very interesting to go back and kind of like think about it now.
Yeah, and this Mary said that rats are providers too, like they're always scavenging. So that's an aspect too. Like there resourcefulness in this case where it's like, okay, we're going to consume this and process it, integrate it, use it as nourishment, and
Right.
obviously move forward. So yeah, that dream was really good. Like there's a lot of layers to it. We could talk about that for like
I
another hour.
know. I know. I feel like I could use that dream for like 6 other dream symbols
Right? Oh yeah,
or more.
absolutely. That was pretty rich. All right, so I don't have, for those listening, I don't have a rat dream. So yeah, which kind of makes sense because I don't have like a personal connection, so to speak. But yeah, so we'll move forward to snakes. So again, let's consider that instinctual nature of snakes, or to interrupt myself again, let's chat about what our personal connection is with snakes, since that's going to be most important when we're considering the message coming forth. So my personal connection with snakes, I am, so if I know, like I'm good with like the little snakes, like the garter snakes, I'm fine with those. Um, Obviously the ones like the ball pythons, like ones you find in the pet store, I'm good with them because I know what they are, and they're not venomous, right? But when I see them in nature, like this was a couple years ago, it's probably in like 2021, 2022. No, because Sidori was walking, so it may have been in 2022. We were on a path, and we were like on the path, and there was a snake like right there, and I went into mama bear mode. Like I like picked her up right away because it was like as we were walking, like generally they're probably not going to mess with you, like
Yeah.
obviously, like I didn't panic and do it, but I was just kind of like,
Cautious.
yeah. And then we turned around and walked the other way because we would have to walk back around that way anyway. So
Right.
um generally I like to keep my distance if they're in nature and they're a bigger snake, and this was a big snake. It could have been, I don't think it was a water moccasin because it wasn't in the water, but there are not too many venomous snakes here. I know they have rattlesnakes here, but they're like in like the mountains, the Adirondack mountains. So nonetheless, but I actually would love to have a snake. Like I would love to have a pet snake. So I want to build my relationship with snakes, and I'm open to having a pet snake. But I also need to sit with how I actually truly feel about that with seeing them in captivity and such. So, but yeah, so that's where I'm at with snakes. I don't like spiritually, I definitely love them and feel
Oh, yeah.
their symbolism, and in waking life, like having a close encounter, I'm open to that if I know what the snake is, and that, it's not venomous. It's, used to people and being held and such. So that's where I'm at with that. What?
So, my relationship with snakes. So, like I said, when I was younger, like when I was a kid, I was interested in them, and but I wasn't like I was still afraid of them because I didn't really understand them. And I remember like how excited I would get when I saw like a gardener snake around my yard, but also how freaked out I would get. Like I'd want to approach it, but I was so nervous and scared because I didn't really know their behavior, and I was always afraid of like the worst. And especially because I watched movies like Anaconda, where like because that's the thing. The poisonous snakes never scared me. It was the big constricting snakes that scared me, which is interesting to think about because I'm not very claustrophobic, but that feels like it would pertain a little bit more towards like a claustrophobic experience.
Mm-hmm.
However, when all of your bones are breaking and your organs are popping, it
Yeah.
just it scared the crap that scared the crap out of me. So when I would think about like I would have a similar experience to like that's like hypnagogic kind of hallucination of spiders. For I did that with snakes too for a while because I just imagined this huge snake slithering into my bed and constricting me in my sleep. But as of now, like I've healed for the most part that relationship with snakes. I love them. So outside of my work is actually one of the largest snake like dens, like underground snake nests. And they're river snakes and they're harmless, but they're snakes nonetheless. And they get big. But you go out in the beginning of like, summer and you see the big mama on this stone getting sunned, and like 20 little baby snakes all kind of like falling off her as she's moving and stuff. And they're just so stupid. Like they're just so silly. Like I just they're just so silly. Like I love them so much. And I actually had an encounter this year that I got really excited about because I always go out and talk to them. So what they'll do is there's like breaks in the stone and you'll see their little heads kind of like popping out, getting some sun, but they won't be fully out. And I'll go up and I'll like kneel next to them, like, "Hi, babies, I love you so much. You're so precious." And I had one like slither out from the stone and like I mean, they must have been like 6 inches from me, and they just coiled up in a little like circle in front of me. And I was just like, "Oh my god, you're so precious! Like you're so cute." And I love them now. And I have a snake tattoo, um, which represents, kind of that shedding skin, like continuously growing and evolving, which essentially that's how snakes, are. They shed their skin, and then they're new and beautiful and vibrant, and like how often we shed our own skin and feel that vibrancy come through, and just like integrating the shadow aspects with the light aspects. So as of now, I love snakes. I would have a pet snake if I didn't have to feed it mice.
Yeah.
I'm weird about like that. I really am. Like even
Yeah.
I just even the dead mice. Like I
Yeah.
just feel I feel heartbroken.
Yeah.
I don't have the balls to
Yeah. That's a
do
good
that.
point. Yeah, that's
But
a
I
good
do love snakes, and I think they're really cool. And you think about how, they don't have any arms or legs, so their bodies are just muscle, and like how much muscle it takes for them to move through. Like you think slither, but you don't think about like how strong they are to be able to
right.
do that. And they're just such interesting creatures. So I love them now. I think they're so cool. You're not going to see me going anywhere where there's constricting snakes. I just don't like to take my chances like that. And I know there are some places, like I want to say in like South America, where like the snakes can get up to like 20
Oh, they get huge.
feet
Even in
long.
like, is it Florida that they can get? I don't know if it's Florida.
I'm
But yeah,
sure.
they can get pretty big. Yeah.
And like, though I do have to say, I watched a video. It was an underwater video, and it was a guy like scuba diving next to like one of the biggest snakes living that they've found, and he's just like
Oh my
like
gosh.
swimming next to the
Whoa.
snake, and I'm
Whoa.
like, oh,
I'm good on that. I'm so good.
like I love it, but I'm also like terrified that that snake is gonna just like strangle me to death.
That's my thing. I have control issues. Like that's why like I can if I see them in nature. So we have a river too here that I go to all the time. And my daughter's father actually like I think it was this year. Yeah, he will like straight up pick them up out of the water or if they're like on the ground basically. Like he has no problems picking it up and I know it was one time he did it this year and like he had it like for a minute, like kind of off. There's like a trail that walks by, and people were just like freaking out, like they were
Mm-hmm.
not having it. And but yeah, so I can see them from a distance there. But it's more so I want to respect their space because like one wrong
Exactly.
move and it's like, and those aren't venomous, but still like
They're
they can
still like
still bite
if they
you
get
and it
spooked,
can
they're
probably
gonna wanna.
irritate you. Yeah, you never
Yeah.
know.
Because like if I
Um,
think if you're the size of a snake and you see something huge like a human come up to you and grab you, your first instinct is going to be to save yourself. Like I always try to put myself in like their mind like as a smaller creature. Like, and
Same
I
thing with
also, like
spiders.
you, I don't want to invade their space. I don't want,
Yeah.
like, I'll go up and I'll talk to the snakes, and I'll like talk. And even when that one slithered up next to me and then coiled, like, and rested, like, I didn't touch them because I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable.
Right. I
Like,
mean, it's like
like,
you don't have to touch everything.
exactly.
Um,
I just
yeah,
don't feel
he's
it necessary.
definitely the toucher. He's like, yeah, it's that Sag. They like explore and do all that. So Sag and Gemini, I feel like they're like,
Mhm.
ooh, what's this? But Mary's funny. Mary's in the chat. She says, I don't like them. Yeah, a big fat no, as far as like probably having a close encounter. And she says, I appreciate them. They can stay where they belong though, and I'm going to just stay my distance. They do intrigue me. I don't think I do I don't think I don't know how I would do if may I have oh, I might have nightmares now. I'm sorry. I'm getting jumbled on her type.
Sorry,
Maybe
Mary.
I
I
should
hope you
read.
don't have
Yeah.
nightmares.
I hope you don't have nightmares. She said Harry Potter snakes on TV only is fine by me. LOL. Yeah.
They're so interesting
Yeah.
though. Like if you like I said, like I watched this mother snake and she was moving on the stone just sunbathing, and you see all the little baby snakes trying to stay on her back because they want to be close, and they like she moves a little bit, they just fall off and roll over, and they're just so
Yeah.
they're just so fucking cute. Like I get it.
Yeah.
But I've since being around them, like it's every summer I go out, and again, it's the largest snake. It's one of the largest snake nests, underground snake nests in New Jersey. So like, there's a lot of them, and it was so cool because so there was a lot of overgrowth on the stones this year, so the stones were in the shade, so the snakes weren't really getting the sun they needed. So what they would do is they would climb the trees that were coming out by the stone,
Wow.
and so they would all be laying on the branches of the
That's
tree,
crazy.
and it's just so cool. They're
Wow.
just
That is really cool to
they
see.
I wish I had like more photos, but like and they're also kind of camouflaged in the trees. You can't really see them. I miss them.
Mm.
They're gone like midway summer. Like
Yeah.
they just
Yeah. They
disappear.
do
And
their
I guess
thing.
too
Yeah.
it has to do with the amount of geese that are around, because geese are
Yeah.
known to eat snakes and other predators
Yeah.
that eat
Like
snakes
hawks
and
and
stuff.
whatnot.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so let's go into that instinctual nature of snakes. So I really like when you mention as far as um like they're very sensitive and just not wanting to disturb them, and even like talking to them too. So like spiders, they're very sensitively attuned, sensitive to vibration for like obvious reasons. And so when it comes to when I think about spiders and snakes, especially snakes, I definitely connect to their like the vibration, the frequency, and how that might be significant in some sort of meaning for you personally. And like for me, I definitely I lean towards frequency when I think about healing, when I think about transformation, and that's another aspect of that snakes represent, even with like you mentioned shedding skin. So there's that growth, there's that healthiness, there's that purge, that transformation. They have very silent movements, and so that can speak to strategy, like subtleness, patience, like qualities that you might want to embody yourself. Also, they are venomous, right? And so that venom essentially is a protective element, right? It's a defense mechanism. And then I also like the tongue flicking, which that's like basically them smelling like from the air, which I think is really cool. And that just seems like that would kind of come off as like a extra like a ESP, like extrasensory perception. Like it's just different. Like that's their kind of like intuitive nature, along with the sensing, with the vibration. They're solitary creatures, and they also like are ambush predators. So that ambush aspect could be like the precision, the patience, and decisiveness that comes through. Also, let me say they're cold blooded, right? So they regulate their body temperature through external heat. And
Hmm.
so that can represent adaptability, cycles, and alignment with nature, with the environment. So that's something to keep in mind. And then one last thing here, too. I have a lot of notes on them. They also burrow and hide. And so that can represent that mystery or like the unconscious energies or underworld type energies as well.
Yeah,
So they're really
absolutely.
majestic creatures.
Yeah.
What do you have for the symbolism? I know we already kind of talked about a lot of things, but um anything like that I didn't touch on. There's tons of things. I have more stuff too, but
So snakes have a very rich symbolism in history. I mean, even just, right off the bat, temptation, in the Bible, the snake tempts Eve to eat the apple, and you know and then all of the consequences that come with that. So temptation, sexuality, especially when you
Oh,
think
when
about.
you, sorry to interrupt, but when
No,
you
it's fine.
mentioned them being in the tree, that's exactly what I thought about. Like,
Yeah, yeah, me
I was like,
too.
oh my gosh, that's so cool. So yeah,
I
that was
know, and
really
I'm not even like religious. I don't really follow that, but one of my favorite shows is kind of like essentially a fanfic of religion, and the one of the main characters that I love is essentially the snake that tempted Eve to eat the apple. And
yeah.
so like it's just interesting. But they also, represent sexuality. When you think about Freud and of course his interpretations, snakes are very phallic. Um,
Mhm.
again, there's symbols of the dark, the unseen aspects of the self. When they shed the skin, it represents growth, healing, especially if you see like a caduceus type of symbolism within the dream space. It's really that representation of healing and medicine. It can have relations with the occult and magical forces. It represents primal instincts, personification of the unconscious. And then, of course, there's the aspect of the Ouroboros, where it's essentially the snake eating its own tail, representing the never ending cycles of life, which I
Those again.
love. I
I love the
love,
Ouroboros.
I love that representation. The never ending cycle of life and death, and just like how, I mean, even the season, oh God, I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it.
And then I also want to point out another spiritual association with snakes is the Kundalini
Yes.
rising, right? The snake rising from the base of the spine. So there's that
Right.
spiritual awakening. So, just pay attention to, of course, like how it's showing up in your dreams, as we've been saying with all the symbols and with everything. The context of that, your connection to this this animal or creature, and then what's going on in the dream, of course. And so and how it might relate to your waking life, because like it might not be obvious, say if it's like a kundalini or spiritual awakening type reference, but pay attention to what is going on in your everyday life. Like, are you having a strong spiritual transformation, or are you shedding skin? Are you ending another cycle? And feel like you're having like a grand rising or ascension within your life, or maybe your sexual energy is really turned up.
Yeah.
This one I did come across in my dream dictionary, the Freud reference, which of course, as you can imagine, is pointing to like phallic
Hmm.
symbolism, and it could be sexual urges or fears of masculine energy. But then I would also flip that to like feminine energy too. I feel like
Yep.
Kundalini. Um, and then Jung pointed out to or referenced this snake to be a symbol of dark, incomprehensible, and mysterious aspect of the self, like coming forth. So we each have a dream on snakes. I think mine is a short one too. Um, so
Yeah, mine's not too long.
okay. So can I go ahead with
Yeah,
mine
good.
first? Okay. So this one I had on June 4th of 2024. And okay, so don't remember much from this dream except the presence of tons of snakes. It was as if it was raining snakes outside, not literally, but the feeling as they were all along the doors and walls outside of the home. It was my home, although it hadn't looked like any home I've lived in waking life. Some snakes got in the house and I was in a haste to release them. I recall a lot of snakes' bodies being cut in half only to regenerate. In the dream, I did feel a bit anxious, but a different anxiety I haven't felt in dreams before. It didn't feel suffocating. When I awoke from the dream, I felt excited and curious about the dream, as I have been connecting with snakes a lot within my spiritual practice and growing connection with ancient Egypt. So, hence the
Wow.
spiritual energy there, the Kundalini, and all of that.
So immediately the first thing that comes like through is that when they're cut in half, they regenerate. So if you cut a snake in half, both ends regenerate into new snakes. So
Yeah.
it's like that aspect of abundance and growth within the self. And you weren't like, you were anxious, but you weren't anxious in a normal way, which makes me think that maybe it was more like a combination of that excitement that you had brought with you to the waking and anxiety for what's to come. And just like you're so overwhelmed with personal growth.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that so much. It's such a beautiful dream to
I
have.
actually, and I do remember that. It's funny. Like, you know how you remember the dream when you reread it? Like you come across it and you like, I like glanced at it, but then when you reread it, you're like, oh, it kind of took me back to that. So that was interesting.
Right.
One of the things we actually did we even mention, like, of course there's strong ancient instinctual wisdom in reference to snakes, like they're the keepers of that ancient wisdom. But then also I noted here, it was in the dream dictionary, that a lot of people, or a common dream involving snakes is tends to be like a pit of snakes, or like a group of them, like a lot of them together. And so sometimes that can point to what they said, many like worries that are threatening you, or like, heavy anxious energy. And this, again, I didn't feel that connection, or I didn't feel that because of my connections to snakes spiritually and everything. Like, obviously, I noted for context, like what was happening in my life. And yeah, so it didn't, even though there was a lot of them, I think I was just kind of like you said, maybe overwhelmed by the transformation. I think that kind of lands more so of what was going on there. And it was just like, what am I going to do with all these? Like, it was, I think the fact that it felt like it was raining snakes was kind of um taking the attention of the dream. But I'm excited I
I
revisited
love
that.
that.
Yeah, that
I
was,
love that. I love that so much. It's just like, because again, like that idea, like that could be a nightmare for a lot of people,
yeah.
but it wasn't a nightmare for you. And it really, leans into, especially since you were spending so much time learning about it and like connecting with it, you
Mhm.
were really getting a different energy. And again, that immediately that abundance of growth and just coming through, especially like thinking back to what was going on during that time in your life,
Yeah.
and like, what you were embarking on in your inner
Yeah.
self,
I was definitely that was right after I legally changed my name, because I think
Right.
my name change happened in May. So it was like that was probably about a couple weeks
Mhm.
after that, to be
Oh yeah.
honest. And so just thinking about that, and where like now I finally feel that I'm on the other side of the transformation.
Mhm.
There's so many layers to it, but that makes sense. That completely tracks, because it was all
Absolutely.
spiritual and everything anyways, like the transformation, the
I
shedding
love it.
of the
I love,
ego.
love, 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 love
Wow.
that. I just,
Very
oh,
cool.
I always love the types of dreams where, like, to a general public, they'd probably be horrifying.
Oh
But
yeah.
to you, they're magical and mystical, and there's excitement,
Raining snakes,
and
right?
like it really, it says something about where you are in your own personal growth, and like I love that so much. So
Yeah. All right. So what about you? Let's hear your snake dream.
okay, so funny enough, this dream was August 23rd of 2023. I know that my first dream was October 23rd of 2023, so it's kind of funny those corresponding dates. But I was walking down a side of stream I dreamt about before. In previous encounters, dangerous snakes lived in those waters, but now only skeletal remains linger. I felt my foot brush up against an elongated rib cage that was sitting partially ashore. The water was cooler than bath water, but not too cold for comfort. I felt safe. Gently putting both feet in the stream, I began to continue my walk in the water rather than on land. It wasn't long before I was surprised by the sharp pain of a snake biting my foot.
Mm.
It truly seemed as though there was no snakes left, although almost as if this one manifested itself as a warning. Hold on, let me see. I thought that was the end of the dream, but it looks like I believe this was a warning for my own self to not settle into comfort since the waters have calmed. I too easily get fixed into a purgatory state after achieving goals to a certain point. So long, so long, though, that once I've climbed the ladder, in the end, I'm back on the ground. That's interesting that I wrote that aspect down too, because I wasn't, I thought that was a part of the dream. But yeah, I mean, that dream sticks out to me. I immediately go back to it like it was yesterday.
Mm.
It was definitely a very. I mean, I remember in the dream like I felt completely safe, and everything that was going to be dangerous had gone and left. And like, again, there were all these like dead, like remains of snakes, like skeletal remains of snakes. And I was okay to get into the water and walk without like the danger coming up and getting me. So
So that's interesting. It's like both of our dreams I've noted as specific, like the snake bite and then the pit of snakes. Like, and those are the two like just main, like, oh, what if you have this type of dream? And we both like
yep.
presented that type of dream. So essentially, because I feel that like the snake bite is something that it's a common thing that might happen in dreams. The dream that I was interpreting the other day, there was a snake bite involved. My daughter's father had a dream a couple days ago that involved a snake, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago that involved a snake, and there was a snake bite. So essentially, like the snake bite can represent like urgent transformation or facing your fears or confronting or a confrontation with something that was, fearful and so forth, the confrontation and overcoming that. And so the fact that you felt like safe in the dream, and like even the death of the snakes felt like that death, meaning like the end of a cycle, like you've overcome something. And that snake bite, I also feel that as integrating some sort of wisdom. So that could be, say, the
Oh
nature of
yeah.
the challenge that you're experiencing at that time of having the dream. That snake bite can represent that you have essentially learned that lesson, because it's venom, right? And so it can be toxic, it can be poisonous, but like in the dream, like you said, it wasn't a nightmare.
Right.
And then what was going on in your waking life, I'm sure you were overcoming, some challenges there. And so that can represent, okay, you have integrated this wisdom and it's a part of you now, and you can move forward. It's the end of a cycle.
Right. And I want to bring up something too, is that the water was filled with the skeletal remains of snakes, which doesn't make the water safe. There's still
Yeah.
the aspect of hurting myself, even though the snake
Mm.
itself is not a predator. Stepping on the bones could easily hurt me. So I just feel like the contradictory aspect of feeling safe to walk in waters, even though the dangers are still there, just in another way, is an interesting thing to bring up. But even like when I got this the bite, it wasn't I wasn't scared or like anxious. It was just surprising.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the snake essentially manifested itself out of nothing. So there
Interesting.
was no living thing within this. And
Yeah.
looking back at looking back at my own interpretation that I gave myself, like I believe this was a warning for myself not to settle into the comfort of life. That like
Mm-hmm.
this is something that I always have an issue with. It's like I reach a goalpost and then I sit on that goalpost forever. Like essentially, like I accomplished this one thing and now I don't have to do anything for a very long period of time, but that's not realistic. And it ends up setting
Yeah.
me back. Like, so long though, I sit back and sit in comfort for so long that even though I climbed that ladder, in the end I'm back on the ground and starting over. So I just felt like that was a really interesting dream to have.
Yeah, and then there's the cycles
Yep.
that represent
Exactly. The
cycles.
yes.
Yeah. So Mary says here, me and the angry garden snake that bit my brother. And then she had an accident. Like, I'm assuming, Mary, you're mentioning the car accident. And so was that in waking life that the snake bit your brother? She said, I thought I dodged the snake bite, silly me. So yeah, let me know. Let us know if that was in a dream, or I think that was in waking life, but I feel like I don't know if you told me that before. So but yeah, no. So that's, yeah, they're lessons. They're lessons there for sure.
Oh, for sure.
They're definitely very wise teachers. And I don't know why I'm getting that saying like a little bit of the point, like just having a little bit of a poison is like, like there's medicine in that, right? So that just
Well,
makes
think
me
of
think about
like
the
what
snake
what you
bite.
need, like what's the like oh my god, what is it called where you get bit by a poison snake and the medicine that you have to get is in a vial and it
Oh,
is the
the
it is
anti venom.
the
Yeah.
the venom.
Yeah.
I don't remember
And
what it's
even with like
called.
antivenom, right?
Is it just called
Is it
anti-venom?
antivenom or
I don't remember.
yeah,
That
but that's
sounds right,
also
but
like vaccines essentially has the same kind of
yeah,
nature, homeopathy.
right.
Like it's not, well, I think that's more, is it more placebo or you're taking I don't know, but there are many things in waking life that, you take a little bit, even when you think about alcohol, like it's a little bit of poison and you can use it as, also remedies within like when you're sick, like taking a little bit of brandy or whiskey or something like that, wine, even like a little bit of poison might be healing or helpful, but you want to obviously keep that in moderation. And Mary said that that was a dream. So her brother got in the dream or got bit in the dream. Mary, you'll have to share that with me later because I feel like you share that, but I want to hear it again now that I have this fresh because that'll be that's interesting. And in dreams it said that the people in our dreams, especially when we know them, represent some aspect of you or some in the current moment. So that's interesting to go back and reflect on. I would love to hear about that.
It's so funny because as you were saying a little bit of poison over and over again, it immediately brought the song a little drop of poison in my head by Tom Waits. I
Oh,
love
I
Tom
never know that
Waits, and
song.
like I haven't listened to him in a second, and like as you kept saying that, the song just was playing in my head out
Okay,
of
share
nowhere.
it with me. I'm curious.
I
I want to hear the lyrics.
actually think it might have been in a Shrek movie too.
Okay. That actually came up today. So there's some interesting synchronicities here.
I love
She
that.
said in the dream he walked into the room. The snake was with him and the snake was with him, threw me a look like it was aiming to attack me, but bit him. And then it transitioned to my family coming to greet us. Oh,
Mm,
interesting. Yeah, we'll have to
it's
do a little
interesting.
diving on that if you want.
Yeah.
I'm very curious because I think that'll unlock another layer to the car accident. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
we'll have to discuss that because that was really current. So all right. I think we did an excellent job with these. Like we always try to keep it short, but
Yeah, it's
we end
10:30.
up,
So
yes, it's 10:30. It's time to retreat. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for being here. Mary, thank you for showing up in the chat as always. We really
thank you, Mary.
appreciate it. You're amazing. Do us a favor, everyone. Please like the video. Please subscribe if you really enjoy this content. That helps us a lot. If you're listening on Spotify, definitely give us a follow. If you're enjoying this, we really do appreciate the support. Next week, we're actually going to have an archive chat that we're going to share with you guys since it's going to be a really busy week. And so look out for that. And then we'll be back again with a fresh new live chat. And our anniversary is coming up, like our 1 year anniversary
It
is
is.
September 17th, and we're actually going to be live on September 7th. It fell on a Wednesday, basically.
Mm-hmm. We're very excited.
So yes, and it was an eclipse, and we're going to be in the eclipse season starting next week. So this is going to be some interesting energy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so stay tuned for all of that. But I guess this is it. So, any last words, Alexis, you want to share?
No, nope. I just, pay attention to your dream, guys. Share it with us. We'd love to
Yes,
interpret
yes,
and
we would love to
give
hear.
insight and guidance, whatever feels right for you guys. But yeah, feel free to share with us.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Have sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.